Yo, this is Haydan, and this is my remix deconstruction of Hako's track Twisted. Okay then, so this is the project in FL Studio. As you can see, I'm a bit of a OCD freak when it comes to my music projects. Got a nice colour code and group for each part of the track. So light blue is for the drums, dark blue is for bass, purple is for any musical elements like synths or instruments, pink is for vocals and vocal effects, and then red is for general effects. So things like risers and down sweeps and FX shots and all that stuff. So I'll start with the drums as they're the backbone of any house track. Got the usual stuff. We've got a kick, a clap, a shaker, an open hat, a perk loop. Now what that actually is some loop I found in a pack, sample pack that I've cut the nice parts up that I liked. This is how it sounds. I just cut out some sounds that I liked out of that. And that's it. I do that quite a lot where I start projects. I just drop in some loops, play my bass melody over the top of it, any sort of melody, so like anything with a piano or any synth, just to get the idea down. And then at the end, in this case, what I've done is just cut it how I wanted it. There's not really much I can say about the drums. We've got this shaker that's programmed in. It's got a bit of a swing to it. So with the clap, there are two layers. Took those layers and actually reversed it, so we get this effect. So on the last clap, it's swooshing in almost. Adds a nice bit of texture to the song. We've got the twisted hats, so I've just used the original hats from Hako's original song Twisted. Quite liked how they sounded, so I just thought I might as well keep them. And then at the bottom, we've got a ride. Classic 909 ride, and altogether it will sound like. So what you heard there is I actually put some sort of delay onto the clap just to make it fill out a bit of the space at the end. And all that is the basic fruity delay. That's it really in terms of the samples. Obviously each sample has some sort of effects on it, EQ or balancing. What you can see here is I've got an automation happening on the balance. So the ride will actually go from the left earphone or speaker to the right one every beat, just to add a bit of movement to that sound. Yeah, not a lot to talk about with the drums, pretty simple. They are all added into a drum bus, which I've just put a bit of distortion on it with the capitator, and then I believe a bit of compression. Moving on to the bass, again, very straightforward. We've got the sub bass, and then I've got a wide bass. Did originally have a different kind of sound, which would have made the track sound completely different. But I never made the final cut. This wide bass did have some sub frequencies in it. However, I wanted that bass to be wider rather than in the center. So what I've done instead is I've cut out those lows and only kept the low mids to mids in this bass, and then used a sub bass just to keep the power there. And again, you can just see here that I've EQ'd it so the two basses can't clash with one another in terms of where the frequencies are. Kickstart, which is a good plugin for quick side chaining, and then a limiter, which is also side chaining to the kick. So in this case, this is just so it triggered when there's a double kick. Really, you shouldn't be using both. There's no need to be using both, but I liked how kickstart sounded, and then I've tried to mimic it with limiter and just left it on. And then in terms of the wide bass, kickstart again, the EQ as I mentioned before, and then ozone imager 2, which is just pushing it out. Yeah, so really simple in terms of the bass and the drums. Next up is the instrument section, the music section. I have a piano, and this is how this sounds. I've used Analog Lab for this, which has some really nice piano sounds, and I've just used two of the presets and then combined them together, mixed them a bit, and then I've added some effects to it. This is how it sounds without any effects. And with. So beforehand it was quite muddy and not very nice, or what I was after. So the first thing I did was EQ out some of the lows and give it a slight boost in the high end. I've added OTT again to lift the sound in the high end. This is what it sounds like without it. With it, just sounds so much clearer. Bit of reverb, kickstart, does that come on? I can't remember if that turns on. And then the filter is just how the track starts, so it, as you can hear, we slowly bring that piano in. As you can see up here, the CPU is having a hard time. The piano solo. Next up we had a string sample, and then I have a saxophone sample which I've taken and cut up and rearranged slightly in certain parts. That works really well on the drop. I don't have a problem using samples. Some people think it's cheating or it's just uninspired, but I mean, I don't have a saxophone, so I can't play those sounds. I don't have any VSTs that can do it either, so using a sample. I knew I wanted a saxophone in the song, so I found the sample, liked it, and used it in the track, and it works. So, in terms of effects, again, nothing too complicated. A bit of EQ, cutting out the lows, some reverb, and again, a little bit of sidechain, just so it doesn't interfere with the kick and the bass, or the kick mainly. We do have a bit of automation happening here, just affecting the reverb wet levels and dry levels. I guess I did these to help it when it came to the mix down, because we lower the dry signal here, just so it doesn't conflict with the vocal, which we'll get onto next. So from hearing the original, I absolutely love the vocal, and I immediately knew where I wanted to take the track with it. It's very soulful, so I knew I wanted this kind of jazz house vibe, and that was the inspiration for the track. The first major difference to the original is the fact that I have pitched this down. Originally, I think it was in C.
Walking around in hazy dreams, lost inside I can't see.
And I've turned that lovely sounding woman into a man by pitching it down 5 semitones.
Walking around in hazy dreams, lost inside I can't see.
It genuinely sounds like someone else has sang the song, which I liked, because it kind of made the song feel a bit more my own rather than the original, so that's why I did it. As you can hear, there is a couple of effects happening, delay effects, quite a lot going on in this one compared to what we had earlier. So we've got a bit of EQ again, taking out the lows, pre-filter, which is basically just filtering out a low pass. I don't ever think that's being used, but never mind. 2 delays. So this one's a much longer delay. Just 2 different effects basically that I use to help transition the song from section to section. A bit of reverb, fruity limiter, which will probably be compressing the sound just so it catches any of the loud vocals and brings them back down. Kickstart, so again a little bit of side chaining so it doesn't conflict with the kick. Fruity balance, what are you doing? Okay, so fruity balance is just doing some sort of volume automation. It must get a bit loud here and I wanted it to quieten down, so that's why I've done that. So that's the main vocal. What else did I do? Vocal distant, let's hear that. All that is a clip of guy singing or the woman singing. Looped it, made it on its own channel and added some more effects. So we've got some fruity balance, which is just automating the left and right balance channels. Got some reverb that's kind of pushing it into the back of the mix rather than being up front, because I wanted this to be just something that adds to the first drop. I didn't want it to be in your face, so that's why we've done that. Kickstart, 30%, side chain, and a little bit more EQ at the end. Just getting rid of any more frequencies that I didn't like. The last vocal is this Radial Vocal. This has just been EQ'd to sound like it's being played through a radio. First one we've got, again, getting rid of any low end, kickstart, and then this is the one here that's causing this kind of radio effect. So again, all this is doing is kind of pushing it more into the back of the mix and making it sound distant. And then we've got some more effects, which is just fruity balance, which is moving it left and right, fruity delay, and then some reverb. And that's the vocal section. Next up is some generic sounding white noise effects. Nothing majorly interesting, just standard stuff that you would get in house tracks. I've not even put any effects on these things. They sat pretty well in the mix anyway, so didn't even need any. And then on the master channel, we've got my attempt at mastering. What we also have here is Endless Smile, or someone's FL Patcher version of it. It's really cool. It's a free download. Can't remember where I got it from, but I'm sure if you typed this in, you'll find it. It's someone else's version of Endless Smile. I do have Endless Smile actually, but what I liked about this one is you can go in and actually tweak some of the parameters. So originally this was a different time delay. I've changed it and tweaked these parameters until I'm happy with it. And then we automate the effect. And it's only really happening in the last build up of the track. So the effects that's happening to it are, we're adding a little bit of delay. We've got a high pass filter on it as well. Stereo narrower. So the whole sound is coming more and more into the center, which when it gets turned off and it hits the drop hits, makes it more impactful, reverb and delay. So hopefully my computer can handle this. If not, I'll dub over the top so you don't hear all the crackling anyway. Oh, it's bad. It can't handle it. So what you should have heard is the track kind of fading away almost, and then coming back just before the drop to make it feel more impactful and to get you dancing again. So yeah, that's a quick breakdown of my remix for the Eco Beats contest. Thank you to Hako for letting us all play with your original song. Like I said earlier, I absolutely love the vocal and I knew immediately I wanted to create this sort of track with it. I'm really happy with how this turned out and I'm really excited for the song to be properly released. I hope you enjoyed that and I hope you've learned something, and if not,